Hi guys, let me start my timer here. There we go. I thought I would share with you some of the books and movies that I have found interesting that are kind of in my library that stand out as far as fashion are concerned, and are in my movie collection that stand out as far as vintage fashion is concerned. I'm going to start out with a few books. One of my favorites, and I just got this book a couple of months ago, is called The Little Guide to Vintage Fashion. Insider Tips, Helpful Hints, and Hip Shops by Melanie Fortier. F-O-R-T-I-E. Looks like an R, but then it looks like an S. R. She owns a vintage boutique in Gardner, Massachusetts called Tangerine Boutique. And she also has a website called tangerineboutique, all one word, .com. But it's a neat little book. It's about 200 pages. She does things like, how to measure, get your measurements, which she says is a good idea to have when you go check out vintage clothing, is to have your measurements, and a measuring tape. So if you don't want to try it on, you can always measure it to see if you think it'll fit. This is a good little book for information though. And I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail because I always manage to and then we're out of time. So, but this is a good book called The Little Guide to Vintage Shopping. You can get it off of Amazon, of course. Excuse me. The next one is called Secondhand Chic. Self-explanatory. By Krista Weil. W-E-I-L. And it's a decade old, but it's still got some good information in it. Particularly, there's a listing of designers. She lists couture designers. She lists international designers. She lists American designers. Some of them that I've never heard before. So just to have that little list, I think it's helpful when you go thrifting, in case you stumble across something and you go, oh, wow, it's couture, for $5, that type of thing. This is a good little book. Another one, these two are my favorite. I just like to look at them. Everyday Fashions of the 50s and 60s. And there are others edited by Joanne Olin. And these are basically pictures out of the Sears catalog. When I was growing up, it was the Sears and Roebuck catalog. But everybody knows it as Sears. I don't know why they dropped Sears. I guess Sears bought out Roebuck, so now it's just the Sears catalog. I don't know. But anyway, cool pictures from the 1950s. Kids fashions, adult fashions. They even have nursing stuff, work clothes, skiing things, all kinds of stuff. But really cool books. She also breaks these were $11 on Amazon. All 4 of these books you can get on Amazon. She also breaks these books down into, there are more detailed books that are broken down. These are broken down by decade, and they cover every decade, like 1950, so you go 1950 to 1959. But she also has some other books that break each decade down into increments. So you have the early 1950s, mid-1950s, and the late 1950s. And those have more pictures and more detailed and more expensive. I think they're $29 a piece. So I like these because, I get a kind of a general idea of what the decade was like, which, is more interesting to me. Anyway, moving on. Movies. Movies are probably how I got interested in vintage fashion. I love classic movies, particularly the old movie musicals. Those are some of my favorites. My older sister actually got me into thrifting because she used to have to drag me along because my mom said. She's almost a decade older than I am, so naturally she had to drag me along when she went places. Anyway, so that's how I got into thrifting. Vintage was via the movie, thrifting via my sister. So, hey sis, love you. Anyway, let me show you guys my movie picks for looking at fashion in the movies. And we know, unlike the everyday fashions, these are kind of going to be glamorized versions, but they're pretty close to what women were wearing during the decades. 1930s, 1940s I have The Women by Norma Shearer, with Norma Shearer, Rosalind Russell, and Joan Crawford. This actually even has a fashion show sequence in it. This DVD has, there's a colorized version and then there's a black and white version. This is a black and white movie, but really cool stuff in it. And then there's also Christmas in Connecticut, has some good fashion stuff in it. And The More the Merrier, 1940s, World War II, which is one of my favorite movies, actually too, with Jean Arthur and Joel McCrea. This little movie's a little risque, because it's actually about two guys sharing an apartment with a girl. One of them is an old guy, so old married guy, so technically that doesn't count, but there's a fairly young guy in here. And this is set in housing-strapped Washington, D.C. during World War II. And she's a single career girl, so you'll see her fashion. So check it out. 1950s fashions. Whoops. I always spin. 1950s fashions. Guys and Dolls with Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando in a... When I first saw this, I'm like, what? Brando? You know, Stella on the waterfront. Brando. You know, Godfather Brando in a musical with Frank Sinatra. That blew me away. And I won't call it singing, but if you've never seen this movie, check it out for the fashion and for Marlon Brando. So this is a good one. Next one, Funny Face with fashion icon Audrey Hepburn and Fred Astaire. This one is good because this one is actually kind of, the premise is about a fashion magazine and so forth. My favorite fashion outfit in this movie is where she's having a photo session at the train station in Paris. And this was shot on location in Paris. So you know there's going to be good fashion in this. But Funny Face. Next one, in one of my favorite movies, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes with Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell. And most people think that the pink dress that Madonna copied for her 1980s Material Girl video. But my favorite, I have two outfits, one for Jane Russell and one for Marilyn Monroe. My Jane Russell outfit is, there's a brown kind of jersey type gown that she wears early on in the movie. And I think you'll know it when you see it because it's the only time she wears brown. And it hugs her curves just right. And it looks demure because it's up here. Almost like a mock turtleneck thing, and then it comes across her shoulders and it's actually backless. And you only catch ever so quick a glimpse of the back of the dress, but it's backless. And this is a great movie. Marilyn Monroe, Sidewalk Cafe, the suit she's wearing with the beret is my favorite. Also, 1960s fashions. Bye Bye Birdie, which is a spoof about the time that Elvis got drafted into the Army with Anne Margaret. Anne Margaret, Janet Leigh, and Dick Van Dyke are in this. Fashions are pretty cool in there. Particularly the gold jumpsuit worn by Birdie. But that's a good one. Another one. I'm sure most people, Breakfast at Tiffany's. The black dress and then the long one here on the cover that's shown at the very beginning. But very cool fashion in here too. And then last but not least, for crazy beach fashion, Annette and Frankie, the beach movies. And yes, I unashamedly have a box set of Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello beach movies. These are good, mindless fun. I love them, but they're good for beach fashion, to see what the teenagers were wearing back in the day, and bikinis and so forth. So that's pretty much it. That's just kind of a quickie thing that I wanted to share, because I really didn't have any thing prepared per se as far as showing you more clothes. I didn't go thrifting this week. I actually looked around briefly this morning while one of my daughters was in therapy, but I didn't see anything. So, you know, I told you guys, I think in the last video, that I was trying to get stuff that talked to me. Well, there wasn't anything that talked to me. Well, actually, there were a couple things, but I'm going to try to wait, because I went to the store where they have the half off for the battered women's shelter. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, in the next couple of weeks that the half price sale will come up and that what I was looking at will still be around. If not, it wasn't meant for me to have. But anyway, I don't have any thrift finds for you guys this week, so I thought I would just post this video itchy sweater. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching and keeping up with my kookiness. And if you have any questions or comments, and I did it, yes! Ha! 10 minutes. Please post them at the bottom. Take care, and I will see you guys soon. Maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks. Depends. But anyway, take care of yourselves. Stay healthy. I know half the country is under snow or ice or something, but stay warm, stay safe. And my viewers in Canada too, stay warm, stay safe, stay healthy. See you guys later. Bye.